Well, here we are again in the book of Hebrews. And this book is all about the superiority, the supremacy of Jesus Christ. And truly he is. So may God bless our meditations today, yours and mine. Chapter 7, verse 22 stated that Jesus' high priestly authority makes him the guarantor, that is to say, the assurance of a better covenant. The Mosaic covenant involved responsibilities, but it also involved privileges, promises, and blessings. And of course, this covenant was initiated by God the Father himself. God sovereignly chose Israel to be the recipient of his choosing and of his covenants. A covenant is a kind of binding contract, but now Jesus has come to establish a new covenant, a better covenant. Chapter 8, verse 5 says, the old covenant, whose design God had given to Moses, was just an approximation of the heavenly tabernacle with its priests and rituals. But now Christ has obtained a ministry much more excellent than that old one. He mediates this new covenant. It's better, and it's enacted on better promises, the writer says. If the old one would have been perfect, no new one would have been necessary. In Jeremiah 31, verses 31 to 34, we have a description of that new covenant that God had prophesied through Jeremiah would be realized in the future. A covenant where the law would be written on God's people's hearts and minds, and not just be on paper or in stone. The writer says that when he spoke of the new, then he made the old covenant obsolete. Verse 13. In chapter 9, the tabernacle is spoken about. It was carried by the Hebrew people in their wilderness journey. It had a holy place and then a curtain and a most holy place. And in the most holy place, of course, was the Ark of the Covenant. Only the high priest could enter the holy place once a year with offerings. But these offerings could not perfect the conscience of the worshipers. They could only deal with external washings and rituals and regulations. But when Christ appeared as the high priest of the good things to come, he entered into the perfect tent. One commentator says that the perfect tent was his own body. Others think it was heaven itself. To present his own blood to secure an eternal redemption. For Christ is the mediator of a new covenant, and his blood accomplishes the redemption from the transgressions committed even under the old covenant. Under the law, almost everything is purified with blood, and with the shedding of blood there is no forgiveness of sins, says verse 22. But Christ has entered heaven itself to appear in the presence of God on our behalf. Not repeatedly, like the Old Testament priests had to go in every year to present both for themselves and then for the sins of the people, but Jesus entered once into the most holy place, which is heaven, and once and for all, at the end of the ages, to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself, says verse 26. And he will appear a second time to save those who are eagerly waiting for him. So that's our thought for today about the superiority of Jesus over the priesthood and over the whole temple sacrificial system that is described more detail back in Leviticus and so on. The way is open for you to pray and receive grace and help in your time of need, for Jesus is there eternally as your intercessor. Amen.